Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Be a realtor house sitter in Boron, California, in the late 80s, a desert full of virtually nothing in the middle of nowhere. Live with my wife who works during the day, a 2-hour drive from our home. We only have one car. In the winter it gets dark so early that I'm usually forced to drive around at night in virtually pitch blackness to check up on properties. Vandalism is semi-frequent due to a lot of the home's secluded nature in the middle of nowhere. One night my wife gets home very late. Leave to check a house 45 minutes or so away. It's a 2-story house, something rare in these parts, which is why I'm looking after it almost every night for some friends. Get to the house, the front door is open, all the lights are on. It's a 2-story house, something rare in these parts, which is why I'm looking after it almost every night for some friends. Be slightly spooked out as no one appears to be home. Turn off all the lights, lock the doors, leave and drive to the second house I need to check for the night. It's another 45 minutes away. The second house is a house I'm trying to sell, a small mobile home deal. Get to the second house. Everything immediately feels strange. It's somehow the first 2-story house again, all the lights are on and this time the water is running in the bathrooms, and all the windows are open. Slowly make my way through the house and shut everything/turn off all the lights and water despite slowly becoming more and more spooked. Drive back home as if nothing happened. It's after 4 a.m. The next night I decide to visit the same 2 houses after my wife gets home. Both are locked up tight, and the second house is exactly how it's supposed to be. A small, mobile home. I lived in the desert for 20 years, and that was the strangest thing that's ever happened to me. I've told the story a few times to friends over a few beers, but none of them actually believe me. They just think I'm trying to tell a scary story or something.
My uncle used to backpack alone for weeks in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California during the 80s and 90s. For years he never really thought much of the Bigfoot stories, as he had 0 encounters despite hundreds of nights spent alone in fairly remote wilderness. This was until one night he said his campsite was attacked by what he described as what could have only been Bigfoot. Stones were thrown in the vicinity of his fire and sleeping bag, no tent. He said he looked up and at the edge of the light of his fire, about 30 feet, he saw a bipedal creature standing about 7 feet tall with incredibly broad shoulders. He told me he went to grab his ice axe, his only means of self-defense, and as he stood up he was so overcome with fear from this creature that his legs buckled underneath him and he collapsed to the ground. Now, my uncle is a fairly big dude, 4', 6'4", 250 pounds, and has spent many nights alone in the wilderness. So, he's encountered everything the California wilderness has to offer: bears, mountain lions, coyotes, etc. And for him to react like this has to mean something. This encounter still shakes him to this day as he doesn't like to talk about it too much. However, shortly after the event he was inspired to learn more about this creature and spent years searching. Funny thing is that my uncle was the person that introduced the shill that is Matt Moneymaker to the world of Bigfoot. Another interesting story about my uncle is that on one of his trips he spent searching he stumbled upon large shit that he couldn't identify. He took a sample of said shit back with him and had it analyzed at UCLA. The shit was determined to be from a creature that couldn't be recognized. The people at the lab even accused my uncle of taking the shit. Funny enough, the shit sample mysteriously disappeared when he returned to the lab a few months later. My dad and my other uncle also had what they described as an unexplained experience, involving what they now think was Bigfoot. Dad and his brother. Backpacking through the Sierra Nevada mountains. Late summer at about 8 p.m., Sun is just about to set. Trail comes along a large meadow. Meadow filled with dozens of cattle. While walking, I hear an extremely loud whistle, howl. Cattle quickly rush into a defensive circle, with young cows in the middle. At the time I thought the noise was a cowboy call as there was a ranch a few miles down the trail. Cows continue staying in the formation as long as my dad and uncle are in view. Make camp about a mile further. Next morning, continue hiking. Came across a ranch that they thought was open. Ranch boarded up, closed for the season. Bigfoot could likely prey upon the younger cattle. Hearing that call and seeing my dad and uncle, who are already 6'4" plus their large packs, in a low light situation clearly startled the cows. Years later my dad and I were watching some Bigfoot show on Discovery. While watching, the people on the show played recordings of Bigfoot howls. My dad said what he heard that day sounded eerily similar to this.
Good ol' spooky Greentext time. This happened a few years back, never really got over it. Buddy and I always meet in Burney, California for an annual fishing trip at Iron Canyon nearby. I'm driving up late at night. Buddy won't arrive until tomorrow, so I plan on getting to the hotel pretty late and just staying an extra night to wait for him. Stop in nearby town for gas and to piss and then prepare to drive the rest of the way. Drive for about 10 minutes. It's about 10:30 p.m. at this point. Spooky.mp4. Pretty hungry, haven't eaten since breakfast. Don't want to turn back, just have to wait until I get to Burney or find a gas station. Lo and behold, I see a light up ahead. Hell yeah. Maybe I can get some beef jerky. As I approach, I see that it's not a gas station, but a large supermarket, think Safeway size. All the lights are on inside, so it must be open. No logo on the outside. No houses around. Not in a town either. It isn't even on the outskirts of a town. It's really far away from the last town I was in. Who cares? I want food and it's open. Pick related, it's Burney. I pull up and park below one of the lamps in the parking lot. Get out. Walk over to the store. It's summer, so it isn't too cold outside. Doors open automatically, which is always fun. I enter, and it looks like a pretty nice place. Well lit, floors are clean. Vegetables to the left, a bunch of aisles to the right. Head to the aisles and start looking for some beef jerky. I really wanted some beef jerky. Find an aisle with a small selection of beef jerky. Grab one off the rack thing that it's on, but the bag is empty. Don't worry, this isn't the spooky part. Bag had been opened. I checked the other bags, same thing. What the fuck? Give me my goddamn beef.jpg. Take one of the bags up to the register. There's nobody at any of the registers. Realize there's nobody in the entire store. Automatic doors open up at the front, look over. Nothing. Nobody comes in. At this point I'm not scared, just really confused. I decide it's already late enough and I should get to Burney at this point. Leave the bag on the conveyor belt and walk over to the entrance door. Store is entirely silent, no music playing or anything. Sort of feel a bit spooked, but I have a pretty large knife in my pocket, so that makes me feel a bit better. No danger present either way, but the fact that nobody is here is scarier to me than actually facing someone dangerous. I push it to the back of my mind and walk out the door. Pick related as a long stretch of road between McLeod and Burney. Walk outside. Round the corner, parking lot was sort of on the side of the store. Super dark outside now. A warm summer night, some crickets can be heard. Very calming. Angry because there is no beef. My car is the only one in the parking lot. There's someone standing on the other side of my car. Not trying to hide from me or anything, just standing like they're looking into my window. IDK, maybe they can help me get some goddamn beef jerky. My boots, Irish setter brand, highly recommended. Make some noise on the pavement as I walk. Person hears and looks up. I'm pretty far away still. Car is across the lot from me. No longer feel calm. Person doesn't look right. They don't really have a face. Basically imagine if someone put a plastic bag over their face and sucked all the air out. Just soft and dense where the eyes should be. A deep circular hole where the mouth should be. No thanks. They start walking around the car. I already have my knife out, but I don't want to accidentally kill someone trying to pull a prank or something. Person now starts sprinting directly at me. Just the sounds of them running frantically and crickets. In an abandoned parking lot with only my car. Horrifying to think about to this day, even if it was a prank. Sprint to the right, trying to get around this guy. I'm no sprinter, but I'm so scared at this point that I run faster than I ever have before. I make it around the figure and sprint to my car. Driver's side is on the other side of the car. Get in. Don't care about the seatbelt. I had left one of my windows open a crack while driving earlier, so I can hear that this guy is incredibly close outside as I start the car. Not sure when exactly this happened, but I remember looking up at the store as I peeled the fuck out of the lot and the lights were all off. Heart is in my throat at this point. Pic related as a picture of the sort of road I was on. Not my pic, but it was taken near Burney. Rearview mirror. This thing is still sprinting after my car. After it leaves the light of the parking lot, it's too dark to tell anymore, so I just have to hope that he stopped at some point. Drive way above the speed limit to Burney. After about 20 more minutes I finally see another car pass. Get to Burney. Everything is normal. Get my hotel room, and lock the door. Push a chair up against the door. Hardly sleep. Rest of the trip as normal. Don't mention it to my buddy. Leave extra early on the ride home to ensure that the entire drive is during the day. Same road as the drive up. Never come across the store. I looked for it the whole time. What the fuck, I guess. No idea what happened. I wasn't tired, wasn't on drugs, nothing. Fully awake. Paranoid ever since. Any ideas what this was? Pic related. It's the area where I'm pretty sure the store was. Red is the route, blue is the area where the store should be. Nothing on Google Maps.
Sophomore year of high school. Friend and I out camping and going to go rappelling at Moaning Caverns, California. First day before the rappel, we decided to explore our campsite surroundings. Go up a hill and find a creepy old water storage place. I see that further at the top of the hill it flattens out. I feel strangely drawn to it. A friend argues it's getting late and we need to rest for tomorrow anyways. Finish the rappel and come back to the hill. Reach the top and friend freezes, which is circle, he says. Also mentions strong vibes he feels every now and then. It's happened sometimes when his life was in danger. Explained what a witch's circle is to me. He proceeded cautiously, why I flipped out and ran around the place like an excited 3-year-old. I decided to check out the side of the hill opposite, where we came up, wanna get a better view, stand on an old stump. Suddenly, everything gets a little quieter, start hearing something in the distance, super faint but getting slowly louder. Gets louder and louder till it's all around me, and I can't tell where it's from. It's a little girl humming. Flip the fuck out, scream to my friend, we gotta get the hell out. He tells me to calm down, don't freak, and leave it alone, whatever it is. We walk back to camp and I realized if he hadn't stopped me I would have ran off deeper into the woods and gotten lost. Most paranormal events I've experienced, though not much I guess, but it's true. Apparently my friend got a disembodied voice and he recorded the old water storage thing. It was debatable when I listened to it.
This isn't something that happened to me, but something that had happened to my stepsister, and something that scared her for quite some time. Sister staying at a friend's house in Point Loma, California. Some houses in that area have supposedly been there for some time. Unknown to me, after their day of chilling, they head off to sleep. Sister is sleeping on the floor of her friend's room. She wakes up in the middle of the night to get a glass of water. When she quenches her thirst, she returns to her makeshift bed on the floor. Says she feels as if someone is watching her. Tries to ignore it, but she can't lose the feeling. She opens her eyes and she sees a bald woman looking down on her. Said woman was wearing a white nightgown that covered her feet. Nope. She lays there staring at the woman in fear. Doesn't want to wake friends and sound crazy. So then proceeds to throw covers over her head and fall asleep in fear. She wakes up the next morning and ends up telling her friend. Friend tells her she has seen the woman too. Sometimes sees the woman walking down a hallway or in a room before disappearing. What really stood out to my sister after this experience was that when she saw the ghost of the woman, she explained to me that there was like this white aura that radiated around the ghost. It was a type of illumination she had never seen before, and is one of those images that's burned into her mind.
So a little backstory behind this story. I was 7 at the time, and my family had just divorced. My father moved to Burbank, California, and I would visit him now and then. He was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with a kitchen and a bathroom. The whole thing was tiny as hell and only was 3 rooms. My father is an atheist and he does not believe in ghosts, but he's told me that this was the one time he second-guessed himself. Now story time. Just moved into apartment. Got it for an amazing deal. Apparently old tenants did not want it. Be told by the neighbor the history of that apartment.
Yeah. Well, a couple years ago we had this college girl living there. She had pretty bad depression and all. Well, one day I came back from work and there were the police here. She apparently blew her out with a shotgun she purchased a few days prior.
Can't remember said girl's name. This was a good 12 years ago. Pretty sure it was Amber. Apparently since then people who move into that apartment get freaked out and leave. Dad does not believe him, and I never heard this, so why would I get scared? First few months go by, nothing big, but my toys keep ending up in weird spots. My army men kept showing up in random parts of the house. Dad shrugs it off. I am 7 after all, I move shit without thinking all the time. 2 months in I start having bad nightmares. I wake up my dad and would say, there are shadows on the wall. They keep looking at me and won't let me sleep. He's spooked, but like a good dad he always calms me down and gets me back to sleep. One day he leaves for work, and lets me play with my next door neighbors. The apartment complex allowed me to run between our houses so I can stay home with them. Dad comes home and hears my giggling coming from the bedroom. He walks in and my army men, bionicles and Legos are everywhere. I start talking to someone who is not there, and respond to the words that no one is saying. Dad tries to shrug this off but starts to get a little creeped out. Still fine though, I am 7, it's normal to have imaginary friends. Mom comes to pick me up later that week. She's still pissed at my father, as she believes that he left her for another woman. I am in the main room watching some Ed, Edd and Eddy, it was the shit for my age. Mom knocks on the door, but I am so into this amazing show I ignore it. Dad opens the door, and they begin to talk for a bit. Suddenly my mom looks over towards the open bedroom door, and starts shouting as she marches there. She heads straight towards the bathroom with conviction, angry as hell. She stops dead in her tracks as she looks into the bathroom. She walks back to my father, looking over her should silent as hell. By this point I walked outside. She promised my ice cream, so I am gonna wait by the car. Mom takes this moment to explain she saw a younger looking woman poking her head from the bathroom. Thinking that was who my father left her with, she went to confront her, only to see an empty bathroom without any windows. Father thinks she's lost it, but now he's kinda getting spooked too. Mentions how I've been talking to someone as I play. When I get back, he's going to ask me about my imaginary friend. We leave and my father heads back inside, but I come back 2 weeks later. I come back from my little league game. Dad had picked me up from the game and got me dinner. My mom said her goodbyes and we went home. We get to the apartment, and my dad starts getting me ready for bed. I smile and wave to part of the house, making my dad a little more concerned.
Hey buddy, who have you been talking to?
The pretty girl Amber. Dad nearly shits himself. No one ever told me about Amber. I was not around when he was told what happened to Amber. I could not overhear anything mentioned about her. No one talked about her around me. Dad smiles and says, "Okay," and gets me tucked in bed. He is shitting himself, and stays up late that night looking for a new place to live. I come out crying, saying, the shadows won't stop looking. That night still fucking spooks him. The next few weeks had my nightmares get worse. End of the month I've been spending more time with my mom, and my dad's been filling his free time with his new girlfriend. Dad is ready to book it at this point. At the same time I actually can get sleep at my mom's. Never mention shadow people there. Dad has been wanting to leave now, and asks his girlfriend if we can move in. She agrees, and she allows us to move in soon after. I go back to my dad's apartment to help, best a 7-year-old can. He's putting boxes in the back of the truck. Everything has been cleared out except for the bedroom, where my toys still rest. I carry out my bionicles, which my dad found laying out on the floor. As we leave I wave bye to the house. Never even return to that street. My family is not easily scared. We have had paranormal stories before, but this one just sank into me. I remember telling my dad about the shadows and playing with an imaginary girl. Creepy as hell. Regardless if it was dumb luck and weird coincidence or it was paranormal, I still refuse to see that house. I just have a gut feeling I was being watched, and I did not notice it back then, but the Rottweiler my dad owned never entered the bedroom. Hell, it whimpered entering there. I remembered all this shit, and when I was 15 he told me that Amber committed self-end there. Still not sure how to process this.
This didn't happen to me. My BF is working at a sandwich shop in Fresno, California. Typical normie man, has no knowledge of nor gives a single fuck about anything paranormal whatsoever. I don't even try to talk to him about it. One day, while working the register on an extremely slow day, a child walks in by himself. He's a boy, white, maybe about 10 years old. This child looks highly unusual. His eyes are massive and almost completely black, with little to no white around them. They must be as big as golf balls. BF is shitting bricks. The child comes up to the register and orders a very basic sandwich. He acts like a normal kid, and even orders something a kid would eat, just a plain sandwich with meat and cheese. BF takes his order while trying to maintain his composure and goes to the back to his coworkers. He tells the 2 girls in the back that he's fucking terrified, and asks them to see for themselves. First girl looks out at the front. She immediately starts crying. She's petrified. The other one can't believe what she is seeing, and refuses to go out there. Whatever this kid looked like, it was enough to completely horrify 3 grown adults to the point of hysteria. They make his order while he waits in the lobby, and my BF brings it to him. He tries his best not to lose his shit as he faces him one more time. Holy fuck, why are his eyes so huge? The kid politely says thank you, takes his food, and leaves. BF refuses to talk about it even to this day. He hates when I ask. The only rational explanations I can think of were that it was a prank and he was wearing a prosthetic, or he has a rare birth defect. My BF swears the eyes didn't look fake, and that they looked around and even blinked. My theory is that an alien hybrid must have got away from his handler for a moment to go buy a sandwich, like a kid might want to. That or it was a legitimate fucking black-eyed child. What the fuck happened in that sandwich shop? X.
In the 1890s, a European immigrant bought up a ranch in Ojai Valley, California. According to local accounts, the man was very withdrawn and was never seen outside in daylight hours. So when cattle, and eventually people, started to turn up drained of blood, the residents grew suspicious of their new neighbor. At daylight, armed with stakes, holy water, and crosses, they went on his property to confront him. The story here goes that they found a stone sarcophagus under a tree guarded by a large, black, dog-like creature which was quickly driven away by holy water. After prying the lid open, they staked the creature through the heart and sprinkled the body with holy water for good measure. The draining deaths stopped. Nobody is really sure where the sarcophagus is, but for good measure I'm providing an approximate location. The ranch should be near this road. Creek Road, north of Los Angeles in Ojai, California. Take State Route 33/North Ventura Ave to Hermosa RD, then southeast to North Creek Road. If you do want to find the sarcophagus, please be careful traveling down Creek Road, also known as Zombie Road. The area is alleged to be rife with activity.
Orange County, California. Black Star Canyon is a super haunted wilderness area east in the county. The natives of the area, the Tongva Gabrielinos, fought against the encroachment of their land by Spanish, then eventually American fur trappers. They were eventually wiped out in one of these skirmishes. Today, there is a small historic Native American village in the area, as well as the spirits of all the natives that were killed. 50 years later, there were 2 horse ranches in the area, owned by 2 families, the Greggs and the Hungerfords. A dispute on a single horse's price caused both families to get into a shootout. The sole casualty was James M. Greggs. After that, they realized what they were doing. The Hungerfords went to go turn themselves in, with only Henry Hungerford being found guilty. This case had an impact on, not only the Orange County legal system at the time, but also Black Star Canyon, as the spirit of James is said to still wander the area. There are also many other legends surrounding the area. There was this story that a school bus full of children was driving through the area when the bus was mysteriously tipped over and rolled down a steep cliff, where everyone on board died. Or another story where there have been some killings there throughout the 20th century. Most notable of these is a supposed unaccounted for victim of serial killer Richard Ramirez buried somewhere in the canyon. Most of these legends aren't real, they're just passed around by the locals. All in all, a pretty creepy place, but regardless of the rumors and legends of Black Star Canyon, it is still a very popular hiking spot for OC locals. I went a few weeks ago, and it was pretty nice, very beautiful area.
Spending the summer with my father in a cabin in the woods in Northern California, just outside of a Christian monastery located on a mountain in Big Sur, where he was working as a groundsman maintenance dude whatever. Leave the cabin at around 9 p.m. to get some food from the communal walk-in fridge on the monastery grounds. No lights along the path, take a headlamp and a baton weapon. Cabin is right inside the edge of the woods, isolated from the rest of the grounds, connected by a single path. Path is rather long and uphill, and to one side it drops off pretty steeply into thick wilderness. It is pitch black. High population of mountain lions in the area. At least one is regularly sighted on the grounds, which is the reason for the baton and headlamp. They hate bright lights in their eyes. Scared as shit walking up the path, as usual. Thought I heard rustling noises in the bushes down off the side. Tell myself it's nothing but keep the weapon ready and walk quickly the rest of the way. Made it to the fridge fine. 5 minutes later, returning from the walk-in fridge with bag of food. Forgot about the rustling noise by this point. As I reach the start of the path, I think I see my father at the end of the path sitting outside the door, talking on the phone. I figure I'll try and sneak down and scare the shit out of him. Turn off the headlamp. Baton is in the bag with food. Get down low to the ground and begin sneaking down the path quietly. I'm moving like this for at least a minute, not once checking around or behind me. When I'm about halfway down, my father finishes his phone conversation and walks back inside. I stop moving. Something seems off. Everything is completely still. I'm struck by how silent it is. Unnaturally quiet, almost as if there was a sound vacuum. Or like there was a noise I had been hearing without realizing, which had halted a split second after my own footsteps had stopped. I stand up straight and immediately hear a rustling behind me, as if in reaction. Hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I whip around just in time to see a low silhouette and a pair of glowing eyes, slinking off the path into the brush, about 30 feet behind me. Nope. Dropped the food, switched on my headlamp. The thing was already in the bushes, out of sight. Took the baton out, holding it over my head, shaking, started inching backwards along the path. Keep hearing it in the brush, pacing, never more than 30 feet away. Finally I say fuck it and start running the rest of the way. Stupid. Don't look back until I'm at the door, fumbling with the lock. Glance behind me. Just inside the brush, 2 glowing eyes, crouched down low. Double nope. Dad hears me fumbling with the lock, opens the door, scaring the shit out of me. I turn to look at him, then look back and the fucker is gone. To this day I get chills thinking about this. I probably almost died.
B19 in New York. Cousin's wedding on June 1st in Ohio, even though she's from New York too. Since my brother is moving out to California, we decide to all drive there, then brother, myself, and my dad will road trip with him the rest of the way there while my mom and grandma fly back. This is important later. So we head out to Dayton, Ohio, with brother, parents, grandma, 13-hour trip. Ceremony is in a very traditional conservative Protestant chapel. Pastor is way homophobic, big into traditional household gender roles. The women are to serve the men are to sacrifice themselves to protect their women. Men, when you marry, make sure it's a woman you're marrying, check their birth certificate, too. Amen. Now everybody, say amen now, etc. Smile and stare at cousin and her groom. Sit out reception, get back to hotel with everyone, feel like venting. Brother and I hash out the BS in the room before we go mingle. Actually find another cousin our age, 22, bro is 24, who agrees with us. Attractive. Oh shit. But per protocol I sweep the Chan thoughts out of my head, has a boyfriend anyway. We go swimming, bro, me, her, and younger cousins, adopted siblings of the bride whom we've known for years. We all hit it off, decide to do something tomorrow night before we leave. Dawn of the second day. The next day. The new couple has already left for the honeymoon, despite huge storms having knocked down mad shit on I-75 and 35 yesterday. Without them, most of the guests have left, but there's a good bunch left. We're staying one more night and leaving late at night the next day. Our new cousin friend, I'll call her Mackenzie, her mother is our aunt's sister, so we're cousins of the bride on opposite sides of her parentage. Her family is staying one more night. Mike is the brother of the bride, we've always known him, he's staying too with his girlfriend, I'll call her Bree. Best man, I'll call him Brian, is cool too, real social and easy to befriend, and from the area. So myself, bro, Mackenzie, Mike, Bree, and Brian decide to all do something. Author's note, just realized how so far it's myself, M, B, and B. Well, except that my name starts with a P, so never mind. Bring up how my brother, dad, and I packed a tent, a huge one, since we'll be camping along the way to LA. Brian, having grown up outside Dayton, recommends a camping site 8 miles away. Fuckitwecampingno.mp4. Take an hour to get ready, Mike and Bree go on a food and beer run. Meet up an hour and a half later, all ready. Take 2 cars, my brother's Camry and Mackenzie's dad's F-150. Use GPS, turns out it's like 25 miles away. Brian, LOL, my bad guys. Storm hasn't left yet but it's reseated for now, however we all agree it'll be exciting, and the campgrounds are forested anyway, so good cover. Have to pass a couple downed limbs on the road anyway. Finally arrive, it's about 4 p.m. Brian remembered hearing the place had gone modern years back, with bathhouses and a central Wi-Fi hotspot near the entrance gate. Turns out they just put some tent platforms in the more popular spots. Whatever, we drive the cars a ways into the woods and pick a spot. Pitch the tent, man, told you it was huge, and prepare a fire to light later from an old rock circle. 5:30 or so we break out the ground beef and I start making hamburgers for the post grill. My hamburgers are pretty awesome according to my family. They must understand good burgers, brought salt, pepper, barbecue dry rub etc. I mix a small spice powder and cobble together some good size patties, 4.3 pounds for 6 people makes some big ones. Grillin'. Hunger complaints, tell them to wait a bit. After waiting a bit, they agree it was worth it. Beers are cracked, Brian demonstrates a new take on the table open technique. Bro begins to converse about the lack of cousinly contact on our side of the family. We all agree, talk for some whiles. Night of the second day. Fire is stoked when it gets dark around 8:30. Chill for a long while more till later. Beers are near gone, I share the last one with Mackenzie. Mike goes out to pee in the woods. Nope. Pasta. Brian gets up to go with him, since Mike was normally a dry partier but had downed 4 or so. Everyone has a phone and most have each other's numbers, so it's cool. Few minutes later, Mike comes back, says Brian had to pee as well so he's a little behind him. Ask Mike why he brought back such a stench. Literally use the word stench, you know when it's not just at smell. Am primed for some creepy, prepared for the copper. It's more like a burnt wallpaper stink, but a really incessant burning, recognize it from a house fire we put out during a Mississippi youth group homebuilding trip long time ago. Mike says he's been smelling it from the start. Minute later we hear Brian walking back, but only because everyone is silent. It's early summer, so there aren't any crackly dry leaves to go on, just slightly damp dirt and a few green leaves. Out of nowhere as Brian comes back out from the nearby trees he says, "No, it's out here with us." All our heads turn to him, but he's rummaging through his bag, facing away. Can't see too well but it looks like he's on his phone. My first thought is he's on the line with someone back at the hotel, telling them we brought something with us. He turns around, no phone, checks our faces, looks to me. "You find it?" "What?" "The lantern." "Because it wasn't in the tent." "Brian, what the hell are you talking about? You were just in the tent looking for your electric lantern." "Hold up the plastic survivalist lantern I got for Christmas last year, it's been next to me the whole time, my paper plate's been resting on it." Give him a very suspicious look. He says, "I could have sworn I heard you ask, Brian, lantern, when I came back and you were in the tent." Everybody stares, then one by one we look at the tent. I hold up my mag light. It's the legit 10, weighs like 2 pounds, a handout from my dad's PR firm client company, the kind you see cops wield during first shift patrols. Shine the light on the tent. Of course, we can't see anything, it's thick canvas. My bro gets up, walks a wide circle around the tent, picks up a stone. Mike chooses this moment to shout hello. Bro gives him this, really, look. Chucks the rock at the side of the tent. Disappointing, flump, against the fabric, then. Fucking SCH. Bien, what hey you take bow. Fucking jump up, all of us. What? 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 At the same time the tent leaps toward us, we do a double jump of sorts. rushing noise, like the wind we've been hearing the past 2 days. Something hits a tree behind the tent, low bowing limb rustles a bunch. Bree has been muttering, oh my god, continues while the tent flops and sort of deflates down in the front as it folds to the ground, half-heartedly slumping. Bro immediately and proactively breaks the ice. What the fuck? Fuck. Okay, let's sit in one car and maybe call the hotel folks. Thankful he's so genre savvy. We pile into the Camry, all 6, since nobody wants to hide under a tarp in the truck bed of the F-150. Realize the car smells really clean, like fresh air. Didn't we just come from fresh air? Not really, that burning paint stinking had permeated everything in the area except the car interior. Bro in the driver's seat, myself and Mackenzie in the passenger seat, everybody else in the back. We're somewhat sideways on top of one another, kind of crammed, myself under her chest and tank top hanging right next to my face. Pale blue bra. Fuck. Visualize a cloud of distracting thoughts and Morgan Freeman as God, the janitor, sweeping it away and out of my mind space. That's just my failsafe image. I've heard fear and arousal are 2 mutually exclusive states of emotion, one can block the other and vice versa. Either way, it was no contest when my fear took control again in the following 10 minutes. Turn away and finish the rest of the beer. Come on, Anon. Ask for the mag light and hand her the empty. She tries to drink what's left. As the question leaves my mouth, I realize the light is still outside. Bro, Mike, and Brian are staring out their respective windows, Bro and Mike on the phone. Bree is in the middle seat in the back, hands over her ears. Her phone begins ringing. Mike, aw shit, sorry, guys. I hit the call button cause I thought I last called my dad, it was Bree though. Interrupted by Brian, look at the fire. I can sort of see, craning my neck back and looking out the back left window. Hunched humanoid sitting on the far side of the fire, can't make out a face through the brightness. We sit and watch, near silent, for several minutes. The fire is dimming, the thing is still there. It's this dull, silverish color, but kind of splotchy. Most worryingly, too thin for human proportions. Been doing some rudimentary figure sketches lately, the thighs are way too stringy, beyond normal ratios. And the forearms are strangely thickened, no hands, the arm just slims into 4, or maybe 5 or 6, long fingers. Staring at our visitor's face, zone out and lose focus on peripheral as I concentrate on where its eyes would be. Realize in a little while that I've been making eye contact as my irises accommodate to this field of vision. Its eyes then drift, slowly, to the side. Its body follows the eyes, does this scuffling half-roll half-stumble, into a stand-crouching position, with its arm/fingers grabbing its thighs and shuffling. That stink, the burning paint sort of odor, begins to seep into the air again, even now inside the car. The thing stops moving, slumps down. Sits again, facing away from us. Oh come on. Mike, genius as he is, chooses this moment to act once again. Gets out from his side. Mike, what? No. Thing's head shoots sideways. He pukes. Still not sure if it was the alcohol and sudden movement or the sight of the face turning toward him. Thing opens a mouth, like a scowl, its eyes shrink. My what no? As it trails off, it's turning around, immediately begins to scale a tree. Its feet latch onto the bark first, then it swings its hands up and shoots up into the darkness. Decide to use this moment to scramble out. Mackenzie falls out of the car, keys drop on the ground. She's frantically pawing the ground in the darkness. Bree grabs her by the shoulders and hauls her up, in retrospect quite impressive considering how small she was. I see the keys, grab them, yell, I'll got the truck. Brian ends up in the cab with me, everyone else in the Camry. Peel out. Except not really because it was dirt and a patch of damp wood chips and we had to turn the vehicle toward the path. The truck seems really loud after all the silent watching, but not as loud as the visitors' cries. Brian is looking back the whole time, making sure the Camry is behind us. Takes seemingly forever to follow the trail back toward the gates. Keep freaking out imagining I'll see the thing on the side of the road like that extra.gif. Or clinging to a tree branch. But I have to keep it kind of slow, the trail gets narrow at parts. Camry keeps honking, after they told me they were doing it for multiple reasons, because we were moving slowly, because they wanted to scare the thing away, and because they wanted to let us know they were still behind us. Reach the gate and watchman booth. He says, we were about to head in there, heard a lot of honk. We're going, no thank you, stay inside or something stupid. They probably had no idea why these East Coasters were so easily spooked. Get back on 35, luckily all the tree limbs have been removed. It's around 2:30 when we get back to the hotel. My bro and I had our own room, so we all go back to that one. Close the curtains, deadbolt the door, everyone falls asleep, some on the ground. Myself and Mackenzie in my bed. Cuddling. Sweaty cuddling. Whatever. Fuck yeah. PRVRT. Dawn of the third day. No way we can just explain away why we need to go back to the campsite and pick up our entire tent and most of our stuff. So we just go and do it before we see anyone, or eat any breakfast, around 7:45. Come to the gate, new watchman, but she heard about the night earlier and asks if we're the folks who bolted like pussycats. That's us. Well, did ya forget something? Yeah, pretty much everything. Ha! Sure you're okay now? Should be. Find our site, had forgotten just how far into the woods it really was. Then. Okay, what the fuck? Fire circle is covered with dirt, but kind of shoddily. Like you asked your 5-year-old son to kick some dirt on it. The tent, however, is totally neat and pitched again. One of the poles is broken, replaced with a long thin branch and nailed through with a thinner, sharpened stick, tied off with strings, or strips, of bark. Our stuff is neatly arranged into piles. We pick it up, non-specifically. Then Bree notices all of our belongings have their own piles for each person. Linguini time. Approach the fire. Smell that strong paint fire stench. Same thing with the tent. Leave it. Before we reach the hotel, we stop at a Dunkin' Donuts. Play it off like we were really craving some nice saturated fats after a night of roughing it. A few questions about the site, the price, the tent. Easily field them, then later my brother and I tell my dad about the tent. He's perplexed, kind of pissed, but kind of relieved when I reveal that we donated it to the campgrounds after we woke up to a skunk spraying the outside walls. We didn't need a 10-man tent anyway, it took up a lot of valuable trunk space and we can buy a 4-man on our road trip, just glad we didn't throw it out and waste it or leave it for them to clean it up. Cool. Now. Have Facebook Mackenzie, Brian, Bree, already friends with Mike. Started a group message. We still talk about it, in fact I wrote this out because it's my cousin's first anniversary. Met up with a few of them a couple months back while they were in New York. Mackenzie and I sorta flirt on and off via text, can't wait for the next marriage. Haha, let's get our families together again, it'd be great to see you again. She broke up with her boyfriend a few months after the wedding, single since. It's funny that I keep the perverted thoughts most relevant. Maybe past fears are blocked easier than the rampant young adult horniness. Either way, I'm glad we kept the group message alive. I think I'm going to clean up and non-greentext this recollection and ask them to check it out, and after removing the Mackenzie bits, obviously. So that's what happened. In case you were wondering, my brother, father, and I are back on a road trip again, although not through Ohio this time, but out to California again, and tonight we're in Springdale, the settlement outside Zion Canyon National Park, one of my favorite places.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.